Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to Uno Soul's Chat, and my name is Brigitta Toruño. I am honored today to be chatting with Diana Katz, and she is an Uno Soul. She has had several professions, including in IT, as a body worker, and a grassroots philanthropist. She thinks of herself as a learner and a catalyst, and I just love that. She is retired professionally, but not from trying to tilt the world towards good. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. How have you been doing during this surreal time of the pandemic?
It was difficult at the beginning because I was not retired, and I was used to being the networker and the one that's out in meetings and networking events and trying to get business and all that. And then that stopped. And that was hard. I felt like almost every other day I had to get in the car and drive somewhere. Just drive to get out. And then slowly but surely I could slow down.
Okay.
And now I'm good. I let go of a lot of things, and I feel like it was a blessing to be able to have the time to think and to be and to not be pulled in 10 million directions. So, of course, I can say that from my point of privilege, where I had a place to be, where I didn't need to work, where, my husband is retired too. It's different for us, I think, than it was for a lot of people who were the young people, especially. So
yeah, I think you're right. It just I found that too. For me, March of 2020, it just I went into a fear of what does this mean, and also feeling like I needed to get supplies and make sure that my daughter, who's local, and her family had supplies, and checking in with my son in North Carolina, and sort of that protective mama type of mode. But I am a longtime meditator, which I think you are too. I'd love to hear that.
Too.
Yeah. And that really helped me to get through, because, to understand the idea of stillness, and I live by myself. So it was definitely a lot of stillness.
It is a lot of stillness. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things I did early on was a friend is a mindfulness teacher, that MSBR.
Yes.
And she started doing a Zoom and invited all of us. And I said, what? That's a good thing. So we did that like the first 8 weeks. And that was really helpful. And then the other thing that was helpful, I live with my husband, and we both do different things. So we were not used to just being here together alone. But one of our sons lives in New York City. And when that got really bad, he picked up this stuff and came down.
Yeah.
I am not going to be in a 4th floor apartment by myself. And he had asthma, so he didn't want to. You walk down the street in New York, it's 250 people.
Right.
You cannot isolate. So he was here, and there was 3 of us. It felt like a party for that. And then we all worked in different floors.
Yeah.
And but exercising and the mindfulness, and then every so often being able to get in the car and go.
Right.
Just to, sometimes I just drove past Middleburg or went over to Berryville and Purcellville and just got out. So
yeah.
It was enough. Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's great. Well, Diana, you have a wonderful and interesting life story, and an immigrant story, and Spanish was your first language. So I would love to hear about that, and as much as you're comfortable sharing.
So, you can, sure, I'm happy to share. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And so my first language is Spanish, but also always English was part of.
Oh, okay.
So our education, the books, the textbooks are in English and the classes are taught in Spanish.
I see. I didn't realize that.
So that's kind of in there all.
Ah,
But my parents were both educators. And so we came to the US when I was 5 for my father to finish his PhD. And so I went to kindergarten in first grade here. I had a Texan accent.
yeah.
Yeah. Then we went back. So, but there must have been some lovely time that we had while we were here, the 2 years we were here, because I always wanted to come back to the States.
Okay.
I always wanted to come back. So that was my goal, was to come here to go to school eventually. That's what we did. But, my story is pretty normal. I'm, 3 siblings, parents were teachers, blah, blah. But what was different and what influenced me, now looking back, right, was that in a country that was very much all Catholic, my father's family wasn't. So we were raised going to Catholic school with Catholic everything. My father's family was into metaphysics and what in Puerto Rico is called espiritismo, which is very spiritual, very, communicating with the deceased and seances and all that. So you're in school and the priest is saying that the people that do those things are of the devil. But these people are good people because you love them, because they love you, because they are normal to you. And you go, no one has all the right answers. No one has all the truth. No one is all bad, right? So that's what I took out of that, I think.
Yeah.
That made me a very open-minded and accepting of many things that freak people out.
That's great. Yeah. That is an interesting and way to grow up and to sort of look at life, in a more open way. And because I was going to ask you, how did that influence you? But you kind of answered that, right?
It really, because that's something I have thought about, right? And I remember somebody, when I was in my mid-30s, one of my neighbors, who I love dearly, is Jewish, and my husband is Jewish. So I have a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And she said to me, I said something about, dying and after you're dead and what's your soul. And she says, I don't believe that. I believe that when you die, you go poof. I went. I was like, I will never forget that, where I was, how she said it, all the things. Yeah. And so I thought, and she says, those are just belief systems.
Right.
Okay. Then I need to know what that feels like. And I spent a lot of time studying, reading. Then I read about Buddhism and I've read all these things. Like, I need to be okay with the belief that we could just go poof.
Right. Yeah. That is a good way to put that, right? I mean, that
concept. Be comfortable with that idea.
Yeah.
In addition to the idea that our soul is going to live forever, blah, blah, blah. All those things. I was like, I wanted to feel those. So every time somebody said something that made I must learn how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating the different religions and spiritualities and the beliefs and the conditioning, right? That are instilled in us, in each individual when we're born.
When we're born and as we grow. Because I remember yoga yoga became very popular in the US in the 90s. Before then, it was just a few selected people that did that, right? And we learned how to meditate from my father early teens.
Oh, I
And
see.
we did yoga early teens.
Okay.
Didn't pursue it, whatever, but we knew that those things existed. We knew the Dalai Lama. We knew Krishnamurti was another Indian. And so we knew of those things
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
So you get all these, you get it. It's like travel, right? Like travel opens your mind
Yes.
to many things. So this, without traveling, when you're being exposed to all these different belief systems and ideas, then you expand to that, I think.
Yeah.
And all my brothers are like that too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and then what about your kids? What did you instill in them?
So I married a Jewish man who was really a cultural Jew more than a religious.
Yes.
Jewish person. So we both decided at the time that we got married, both of our religions would have made us go through 10 hoops just to get married.
That's true.
So neither of us believed that strongly that we wanted to live only in one to do that. So we got married by justice of the peace in Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Every
Oh,
second on the beach.
nice.
And then we talked about our children. What would we do? I wanted them to know what religions have to offer.
Yes.
Because you are drawn to whatever your journey is. Or at least that's the way I see it.
Yes.
So my father-in-law wanted us to raise them Jewish because he was an only son and Michael was an only son, and these were the only ones that were going to be cast. And I thought about it. I said, okay, that's fine. But I will teach them. I was very well educated in Christianity and Catholicism because I had gone to Catholic school all my life. So, so I said, okay, I'll be responsible for that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I thought it was a good idea for them to be raised Jewish was they carry the name Katz.
Yeah.
It is a very Jewish name. They should know their heritage.
That's right. That's very important. Very nice. Yeah.
But as they grew, I also talked about all the other things.
Yeah.
And I said, when you are old enough and you feel called to something, you choose.
Yeah. That's great that you left it open for them.
I left it open to them. One of them feels very Jewish and the other one does not.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, Diana, I believe in the concept of nourishing your soul, and there are so many different ways to do that. But I think one important aspect is nourishing your soul through your body, right? And so I would love to hear your journey, professionally. You mentioned IT, and then if you can tell us how that brought you, and I love how you explained it to me the other day, where you said, my life has been in phases of 10 years, where I've changed profession and so I know that after IT came some maybe massage therapist and yoga. So I mean, I'll let you explain it.
So I was very much into mathematics. Young, I loved mathematics.
Great.
I loved reading and whatever, but I loved mathematics. So that was my first. I have a bachelor's in math with a minor in physics. And then it was a time when computers were beginning to be a thing. And I thought, I can really support myself in the style I might wish to get used to.
Yeah.
If I go into computers. So that's how I came to this area.
Okay.
To get a master's in computer science.
I see.
And then I met my husband, and that's how I stayed. But I worked for the first 10, 14 years or so in computer science, in Computer Sciences Corporation, another startup here. And then we moved to Pennsylvania. And that was traumatic for me because we went to a small town, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, in the hills of Western PA, where everything was different and it was brutally cold. It was here, everything is new. There, everything was very old. Here, everybody's a newcomer because you know how transient this area is. And there, it was not. If you weren't there, like 10 generations, you were not alone. So there, I met these gems of people.
Nice.
So I met a guy that was shaman and a meditator, and I met a woman who did shiatsu.
Yeah.
Yes, and she had a little center, and then so we went and meditated there every morning. And then a friend here started teaching polarity therapy, and I said, "Oh, that's an excuse for me to go to DC." So and I was interested in energy anyway. So I started training for that.
Okay.
And so at that time, though, in Pennsylvania, the only way I could work in IT was work in the same company that my husband worked at. And he was one of the high people in the VP. And then so I didn't want to, that's not something I wanted to do.
Yes.
And so that began my goddess years.
Oh, awesome.
And so I went and I was meditating. We learned a little bit of Qigong. We did, I went to the polarity therapy training. And then out of that, I went to massage school because I wanted to know how to touch the body well.
Yeah.
So respect and a confidence that you should have when you are working on people.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that. I like to do things well. So
yeah. Very thorough.
With that.
Yeah.
And then when we came back here, which we didn't expect to, but we ended up coming back here. So happy. I know people don't like it here, but I love it here.
Yeah, me too.
My yoga teacher, Betsy Downing, that I had before I left Johnstown, had sold her center and was going to do one last yoga teacher training. And so I did that. And I right after that, I was, for 3 or 4 years, I did polarity and yoga. And also was a theater mom.
Oh, okay.
And that was in high school. So that took all of our time.
I bet.
And then in 2004, just when I turned 50, a group of friends, we had been very active in helping the PTA and doing all that you do when your kids are in high school. And the kids were leaving. The kids were graduating and going to college, and we wanted to maintain our friendship. And we knew everybody would, go back to their work and whatever, and we wouldn't connect. So we helped a group, a young man who had an accident, and we helped their family, cope with that. And out of that came the Giving Circle of Hope.
Oh,
we wanted to do something together. Maybe start a business, maybe do something else. And one of us came with the research. I looked online and I found this concept called giving circles. And that was really new then.
Wow.
But it called to all of us. And I think there is where I finally realized that used all my skills.
Nice.
It was, my heart was involved rather than just my mind in the computers, which I loved.
Yeah.
It was intellectual.
Yes.
Right. And this did more than that. It was the connections. It was learning about the community. It was helping. You had to inspire others to give. You had to talk to people about it. So I became the face of the Giving Circle to the nonprofits because they applied to grants.
Yeah, can you explain a giving circle just a little bit?
Giving circle is basically a group of like-minded people that pool their money and decide together how to give it away.
Okay.
It's in a nutshell.
So do you have to be part of a bigger foundation, or can anybody get together?
Anybody can get together and do their shoebox giving circles that put their money in a shoebox. They're giving circles that become foundations. They're giving circles that are under community foundations.
Okay.
One giving circle, one giving circle. There are many. Now it's a huge thing all over the nation. And it's mostly women.
Yeah.
Women have given billions and billions of dollars now. That's giving circles.
That's wonderful.
Teaches you. Women are collaborative, right? We want to know where our money goes. We want to be involved. So that became, for the next decade and a half, that's what I did mostly.
Nice.
And
really great.
And then I met through a nonprofit board. I met a guy named Ryan Wright, who at some point we decided we want to work together someday.
Yeah.
And we started a company called Second Wave Learning a few years ago, when the millennials were taking hold in the workplace and people were complaining about how they don't want to do X or they don't have the skills. We thought there's tremendous value in the millennials. They have so much to offer. If we can just help them learn a little bit how to deal with the boomers and also help the boomers understand the value of the young people.
So like a training.
So we did like a training that was bringing both together, like, this is who the boomers are, this is who the millennials are. How can we bring together?
So important, because that is a big issue in companies.
It was a big issue. It became a lesser issue with the pandemic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So that was my last hurrah there.
Yeah.
And now I just choose what are the projects in the community where my particular skills, like being bilingual, like seeing the big picture of nonprofits, have the spiritual way of, we should be allies. We should see the humanity in everyone, right? That's a value for me, everybody. Right?
Yeah.
And I see the oneness in the planet, in all the cultures, right? In Puerto Rico, we are so, we come from so many different places.
Yeah.
And so that's also a value for us. No matter who you are, you're Puerto Rican.
Right. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
And so I choose projects to be involved with now where I can do that.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
And that's, in a nutshell, that's only without the details. That's where that decades thing have gone.
Yeah, very nice.
15 years every time there was a major change.
Right. Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. And I'm always in disbelief about how paths crisscross and interconnect, because a lot of people that I've chatted with, it's like, oh, I did that. And, oh, I know that person, So for us, I know, I knew Betsy Downing because when I first started meditating, it was 28 years ago. And that's when I started yoga. And Betsy Downing had just opened her yoga studio in Herndon at the Health Advantage Yoga Center. And I've called that sort of my home studio for this whole time. I mean, I've ventured here and there with different yoga classes, and I do take yoga with Pat Powell, who I think who is still a teacher.
We trained together.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yoga turned out, I glossed over that. Yoga was the one thing I did for 20 years.
Oh, see.
Because I did it only part-time. Right?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I love quotes. And I found this really good quote when I'll read it to you, and then I'll tell you the person saying it. The body is your temple. Keep it pure and clean for the soul to reside in. And it was B.K.S. Iyengar.
Yes.
Iyengar.
Yeah.
Because, again, I think that was the yoga that was practiced at Health
That
and
was the yoga that was practiced when Betsy created the center, and then John Friend came and did a little softened Iyengar yoga a little bit, because
Okay.
Iyengar yoga was very much about the form, and it had to be just so.
Yeah.
And then it was then more that spiritual thing of be in your body and be grateful for what your body can do.
Yes.
Right. And so, and eat well for your body, but without being, it's like, I always believed in moderation. I never, it's like my students always ask, are you vegetarian or you are this? It's like, no, I'm not.
Right. Yeah. Because people have a
but
certain idea of that whole, pigeonholing. Oh, yoga, so you must be this, this, and
you
this.
must be like
And
this.
that's not the case.
I remember being also, there's a mindfulness practice center in Fairfax, and they do beautiful, it's based on the Vietnamese.
Oh, Thich Nhat Hanh's.
Thich Nhat Hanh, yes.
Yeah.
So they are, and I go there. I love them. They do qigong. They do mindfulness. It's so spiritual. So
I'll have to look it up. I was there years ago. I went a handful of times and that's all, but I need to look them up again.
They did it via Zoom, and I did a lot during the pandemic via Zoom with them.
Oh.
They're also very joyful. But for me, I am a very outgoing person. And I think being Puerto Rican, we talk a lot. We are, and so bubbly in that sense. So it's hard for me to go into quiet. Only.
Yeah.
Only. I like my quiet, but it's hard to do that only. So I will go here for a while, and then I'll pull and go another for a while. Then I mix them all together. So now when I do my own yoga practice, I incorporate qigong, and I incorporate some tai chi moves, and I do some polarity yoga thing, and my yoga is my own.
Yeah, that's great. That's how it should be, really, to just
because
make
it's
practices our own.
Body. And I think the best lesson that I learned in right now is, I can't remember where I heard it first, but it was about your body has an intelligence about itself.
Yeah.
So if you get out of your own way and trust that your body knows what it wants.
Yes. And listen.
That moment is sacred.
Right, exactly. I love that, Diana. Yeah, I have another quote that's very similar to what you're saying. It says, your body is a temple, but only if you treat it as one. And that was somebody named Astrid Lauda who said that. But Diana, I was wondering if maybe you could give us some tips, like 2 or 3 things, or whatever you think is the right thing for what could we take away from this? Like, what's one yoga type thing or any other of the movements that would be good for us to do on a daily basis?
The one thing that everybody can do, doesn't matter what your skills are, doesn't matter, is to take some time, and it can be as little as 10 minutes, where you sit or stand or walk with yourself only, and you listen to your body and you breathe. And it's not, you don't have to do fancy yoga breathing. You don't have to, just breathe in a way that it is slow enough and deep enough that there's a moment in the breath that it just softly stops. And there's a pause.
Yeah, I love that, Diana.
And then you wait and let it come up again and start breathing again. It's like fill it up all the way.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me how to describe the pause, because they didn't quite understand what that pause was. And I just came up with this, and they all thought it was great. Like, in a swing, when you're swinging, when you were a child, and you're swinging really, really fast, and there comes a point in the swing when you reach the top that is sort of suspense. And you don't know whether you can jump off or you're going to go back down. It's like this moment.
Yeah.
And that's the pause.
That's a great way to describe it.
That's the pause. Many possibilities come out of the pause.
Right.
And in polarity, Dr. Randolph Stone, who was the creator of polarity, he also studied in India, right? So he was a doctor, and he mixed this energy and osteopathy together into something he thought would be healing for the body. And he called it the neutral. So you have positive forces and negative forces without it being judgy.
Yeah.
And there you have the neutral.
Nice.
And that's that pause in between. And if you can, whatever you do, get to a moment in your day that you can stop everything and take those few moments to be, just to be.
Yeah.
It's the best gift you can give yourself.
Oh, that's wonderful. Very, very great advice. Thank you for that.
It's the one thing I know I do every day. I exercise most days. I do something, energetics most days. And then the days that I can't, that's the only thing I do.
That's great. Really good tip. Thank you so much. Diana, I've really enjoyed chatting with you and hearing your story. I was wondering if you could leave us with some words of wisdom.
All right. Well, you know what? I have two quotes that are the only ones that I remember always. That you like quotes to guide me, because when I first heard them, I said, I needed that. One is consider before you speak if your words improve on the silence. And because some of us like to talk and give advice. And this applies to Facebook, on Twitter, on any social media, when you're having any conversation, when you write an email. If you write and you find yourself going on and on, it's like, wait, is this improving on the silence?
Yeah, very nice.
Sometimes and as a mother and a mother-in-law.
Right.
Yes. And then the other was a quote that it's attributed to a Jewish philosopher in a long time ago. And there are many shapes of it. It's like, be kind. For everyone you know is fighting a great battle.
Yeah.
And so it's that recognizing, and it goes back to seeing the humanity in others.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I love that, Diana. I mean, it's so true, right? You don't know what somebody else is going through. So why not be kind? Yeah.
Why not be kind?
Yeah.
The one thing that got me through the pandemic in the learning, because I always need to be learning, MIT has something called the Presencing Institute. And they give these classes. It's like leading from the emerging future. And they want to change the way business sees itself so that business becomes a force for good. And the classes with that are online, and they're phenomenal.
Great.
And in that course, it said, there's a quote, it's like, the quality of an intervention, any kind of intervention, depends on the inner state of the intervener. So how we are inside affects anything we do, because everything we do is an intervention.
Yeah.
If you have a conversation, anything you do is an intervention. It depends on the quality, the inner quality.
Yeah.
Inner state at the time. So I try to live by those things.
Yeah.
I don't always succeed. It's all a journey.
Right. But it's about the awareness. I always say that, right? I mean, it's being aware of these things is half the battle.
It is more than half the battle. It's
Yeah.
knowing, it's like watching yourself, right? Watching yourself
Yeah.
do the things you do, say the things, and you go, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Now it's out there.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. 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 Well, Diana,
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot easier than I thought.
Oh, good. Good. We like that. That's what we want. And
You're
this,
very easy to talk to.
oh, good. Thank you so much. You are too. And this continues to be a powerful time to love each other, to unite, and to live in peace. Thank you again, Diana. I honor the light in you.
Namaste.
Thank you so much for listening to Uno Souls Chat. You can find us at www.unosouls.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I would love to hear from you if you would like to chat with me. Have a beautiful week and see you at the next episode.